Hi and welcome to Carol's Kitchen. Tonight we are making blueberry cheesecake. This is another recipe from Pauline's Tea Room down in Troy, Ohio. And it's one that Travis, my husband, really likes. So hopefully you will like it too. First thing we're gonna do is make our blueberry sauce for our cheesecake. Now you could go with a store-bought spread of some kind. Of course there's blueberry toppings too, but we're gonna make ours homemade tonight. And to start off, you'll need a saucepan. And we're gonna do 3 cups of either frozen or fresh blueberries, and tonight I'm using frozen. I got a big bag of frozen blueberries from Myers. This time of year it's cheaper to do that most of the time than buy them fresh. There's 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to cover that with 1 cup of water. I'm going to disperse them out there. And then from there, we're going to add sugar. I am not going with sugar-free alternatives for this recipe. So if you're diabetic, you may want to do that at home, but we're going to add our 1/2 cup of sugar. And then add 1½ tablespoon of cornstarch dissolved in 3 tablespoons of water. And I had that sitting before we started so it'd be ready to pour in. So we're going to add that. Really only takes about 5 minutes, if that, for it to dissolve. But from there, we're going to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. And again, we are making blueberry sauce for our cheesecake. And again, 1/2 teaspoon is what we're adding to our sauce. Now I'm going to try to multitask as this sauce is cooking and show you how to make the cheesecake. So it could get a little bit crazy. But we'll put this on the oven or on the stovetop on low heat to start. We'll bring it to a boil, let the blueberries separate. Just gonna break up those frozen blueberries a little bit more. They just want to stick together right now. But as it heats, of course, that'll happen naturally. And we'll let that heat up for now. Next step is for our cheesecake. We are going to spray the pan, and I just realized as I did that, and this is on the print recipe on Facebook, that the cornstarch you're actually supposed to add after the blueberries cook. So back up a step, save your cornstarch. But we're moving up, because that's how life is, right? So you want to grab a pan, 9x13 pan, and we're going to spray it with our nonstick spray. So we're getting ready to make our crust. All right. So the first step in that is to take a box of yellow cake mix, and we're going to set aside 1 cup of that cake mix for our cheesecake recipe. That looks about right. I know with baked goods, the more precise it is, the better. So I'm going to try to get it just right at 1 cup. Okay, and we'll set that aside. All right. And then we're going to dump that cake mix into our pan and add 2 tablespoons of oil. Now, when I was growing up, my parents were very health conscious. At least my mom was very health conscious. and she would always say that canola oil was a good alternative to vegetable oil. So when I made this recipe for my family to try, that's what I used, and it came out very good. But when I got online to see what other cheese bake recipes had for their oil, olive oil was something that a lot of them use. So tonight, I'm going to try olive oil. There was also a recipe out there that used coconut oil, and I'm sure that affects your recipe, but you know, there's lots of alternatives out there to try. But we're going to add 2 tablespoons of oil to our cake mix. There's 1 and 2. And we're going to add 1 egg. Somebody told me once when they came into the library that they were just waiting for me to make a mistake on my Carol's Kitchen program, and what would I do? Well, tonight, that's the first time that's happened with my cornstarch blooper. All right, so there's our egg. I've got it mixed up. I'm gonna add that to our vanilla cake mix, and we'll set that bowl aside because we're gonna add 3 more eggs at a different part in the recipe. All right, and from there, we're gonna mix it up. And the mixture's gonna be kind of crumbly. And I have not made too many cheesecake recipes, but I have seen recipes for them. And I did make one once, and I had to put it in the refrigerator. And this one you don't, you just put it in the oven. But I've also seen no-bake cheesecake recipes. So I wonder what actually makes a cheesecake. So of course, being kind of old school, I went to the dictionary, and Merriam-Webster says that a cheesecake consists of a dessert with a creamy filling, usually cheese, and that is the case with we're gonna have some cream cheese in this cheesecake, and it's baked in a pastry or a pressed crumb shell. So in this case, our pressed crumb shell is our vanilla cake mix. I have to be honest, when we sampled this as a family, this cake mix was much sweeter than I like for my taste. But my husband reassured me that he really, really, really likes this recipe. So, might be hit or miss with you. Hopefully you'll be one like Travis that really, really like it. Okay. So here's our consistency for our crust. And it's at the bottom of the pan, so it doesn't have to look pretty. But we're just gonna pour that into the pan and smooth it out. And I think I mixed it a little bit too much. This is just my night for bloopers. But when I got married, I got this lovely pastry cutter. And I found that handy as I was trying to divide up this crust when I was making it earlier. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay. Still not doing what I hoped it to. So we're gonna use our spatula and improvise. Just try to spread it out as much as possible here. So we're gonna learn from this. When you make this at home, if you choose to do that, don't cream it up like you would a chocolate chip cookie recipe. Keep it nice and crumbly so it'll spread nicely into your crust. Mine did that the first time, not so much this time. I guess I'm excited in making it. So, all right. So there's our crust. Again, it's at the bottom, so it'll still be good. Moving on. So the next part of the recipe is to add our cream cheese. And I'm going to take a break for just a moment and check our blueberry sauce. Blueberries are still frozen. We're going to let that keep you're gonna want 2 8-ounce containers of cream cheese. And we're not going low sugar for this one, so you can do low fat if you want at home. That's not what I put in this recipe, or the one I made for my family sampling. But this has been softened in the microwave, first for 45 seconds. That wasn't quite enough for 2, so I added another 35 seconds. So now it's nice and soft. So we don't have to do another dish. We're gonna use the same bowl that we used for our crust. And we're gonna add our softened cream cheese in that bowl. And combine that with half a cup of sugar. Okay, another fun fact. Cream cheese has a lot of lactose in it. So if you are lactose intolerant or have a little bit of that going on like I do, cream cheese is probably not the best thing or this cheesecake to eat before you go to bed, which I did. But it is really good according to my husband. So you want to mix together and cream that sugar and that cream cheese. And from there, we are going to add 3 eggs. So, grab those. There's 1. Let's bring it down here so you can see. 2, 3. And if you have your own chickens, or you know of somebody who has chickens, in my experience, the eggs from the chickens taste better by far than the ones you buy in the store. They're fresher. My brother-in-law actually has chickens. These are store-bought though. But we're gonna add them to our cream cheese and our sugar mixture. And this is where that little cup of sugar comes in that we set aside from our yellow cake mix container. So we're gonna add that now. And then we're gonna use our beater. And for about a minute, we're gonna mix it on low speed. Blooper number 3, take out your spoon before you start mixing. Okay, I've got my 3 things come in 3s. I think I'm good for the night. Low speed for about a minute. So you're gonna bump that up to medium speed. And I have to say that this blender, or this mixer, is so different from the one I got when we first got married, which happened to die earlier, or at the fall of last year actually. And it just doesn't seem as powerful as the one I had. So give it another 30 seconds. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And tell you while we're mixing here, this recipe also calls for evaporated milk. And when I was in the store, kept getting confused as to whether or not I needed the evaporated milk or the condensed milk. I had it on my list, fortunately, but I had to keep looking at that. So I wondered, what is the difference between evaporated milk and condensed milk? Do any of you watching now know? I can see in the comments if you want to respond and tell me if you know the difference between condensed milk, sweetened condensed milk, and evaporated milk. Okay, we're going to set that aside for a minute. All right. Well, the difference is that after that 60% of the water is removed and put in the can. The sweetened has added sugar and the evaporated milk does not. It's that simple. We are going to now slowly add 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Okay, so with that, I need to rinse off my tablespoon here. If you're using a real lemon, which is always better than something with additives, but apparently 1 lemon gives you about 3 tablespoons of juice on average. We are going to add 3 tablespoons. Here's 1, 2. And it said to add it slowly, so I'm going to mix it a little bit more. And then we'll add in that 3rd tablespoon of lemon juice. And with that, it also calls for 3 tablespoons of vanilla. Okay, so we're going to add 1, 2, and we'll save that 3rd one after we blend it a little bit. And I don't know if you can hear this at home, but behind me, my blueberry sauce is starting to boil. So we're going to check on that after we add that last teaspoon of vanilla. And this is on slow speed. Once we get that in with our 1 teaspoon of vanilla, we'll add our evaporated milk. Okay. So, as I shared earlier, the cornstarch should be added later. That's the point in which it needs to be added. It's at a low boil, the blueberries have separated. You're supposed to bring it now to a roaring boil, so I'm going to turn it up a notch. It's not going to take long before that's really going to be very, very hot. But now we'll add in our evaporated milk and our last teaspoon of vanilla. And again, you don't want condensed milk. Sweetened condensed milk, which has the added sugar. We want evaporated milk. And we're going to need 1.5 cups of that. And if you have a little extra left over, you might enjoy it in a tea or in your coffee. If you're lactose intolerant, you may not want to drink it at all. Just dump it down the drain. All right, we are going to go with that 1.5 cups now. I'm actually going to do 3/4 cup now and add it slowly, and then add another 3/4 cup. Again, that is on low speed. You can see the blueberries right now, they're bubbling, they're definitely boiling. And this mixture is starting to get very creamy. It's looking more and more like a cheesecake. We will add our other 3/4 cup for a total of 1 1.5 cup of evaporated milk. And there is just a very little bit left. Do that on low speed. Now once it's at a roaring boil, which it is, I'm just going to stop for a minute so it does not overflow. We want to reduce that to low and let it cook 2 to 3 more minutes or until it reaches the desired consistency. Okay, we're safe. All right, here we go. Finish on low speed mixing our last addition of evaporated milk. It's a little embarrassing to show you my crust, which did not look like this when I did it the first time, I promise. Fortunately, I have that sample to show you so you can know what it's supposed to look like. And you can learn from my mistake. Okay. But I will show you. This is what it looks like if you mix it up too much and don't leave it crumbly. But it still tastes good. So we are going to use it and roll with it and dump our cream cheese mixture in over top of our crust. And just spread that over. Looks so pretty. Yeah. You can see, I'm not going to tilt it. I think you can see it with the angle of the camera there. But there is our cheesecake. At this point, it is ready to cook in the oven. 300 degrees for 45 to 55 minutes. So I've got my oven ready and hot. I'm going to put it in. Going to put it on a pan because that 9x13 pan is not very stable. So. This one more time. There we go, and we'll put it back in the oven. So that's been set for 45 minutes. You want to check on it and make sure that it's as you want it to be. When it's done, the center should be firm. So from here, I will show you my blueberry sauce. You can see by now that the blueberries have definitely melted and blended, and it smells really good. I love blueberries. But it is definitely too hot to pour on top of our cheesecake. So I will show you what the sauce looks like that I made up that's already been cooled. And see if you can tell the difference in consistency here. I let mine cook probably about 5-7 minutes on low heat. And then it's been in the refrigerator. So here you can kind of tell how thin it is. And clearly that will thicken as it cools too, but here it's a lot thicker. When the cheesecake is done, it should look like that, which you can tell this crust looks good. It's consistent, it's all the way around, and then you've got a firm center. Once your blueberry mixture is cool, you can add it on top. And there you have your blueberry cheesecake. If you have any questions, feel free to call the library at 419-637-2173. And thank you, Travis. I see your comment that the cheesecake is really good. I appreciate that. If you tried it home, let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you, or hopefully you are invited to join me on Carol's Kitchen this second Monday at 7. Bye.